Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasts.
Hey y'all, this is Ash from Creepy Tapas podcast. There are a few places selling stickers these days, but I found a small business on Etsy called Snarky Sticker Lady, and I am in love with her stuff. We all love snark around here on the Darkcast Network. When I looked at the shop, I was surprised because she has some really funny stickers. The owner, Allison, knows that pride is not a sin, and she designed a line of stickers for friends of the LGBTQIA community. Allison has said of her own business, I love stickers. I love making stickers. I love putting stickers on everything. I started making stickers because I wanted some snarky, smart-ass stickers, and nobody had them. I need my sarcastic flag to fly, honey. So after making some snarky stickers, I started making lots of other types of stickers too. As a loyal friend to the LGBTQIA community, I wanted some stickers to show how I feel, so I made them. Ha! Maybe you'd like to show how you feel too. All sticker designs are welcome in my shop. Just send your ideas in. All of Allison's stickers are vinyl and laminated, so they are water resistant and will last a really long time. Check her out on Etsy at etsy.com/shop Snarky Sticker Lady. Hey, ba-da-boo-boo, I want to get snarky with you, Snarky Sticker Lady on Etsy.
Well, hello there. I'm Regina King, the Evil Queen.
And I'm Lynn Roskamp, the Docent of Darkness, and we're the hosts of Disturbing Interests.
Do you get excited about mummies, decorate in skulls, obsess over the loss of the Library of Alexandria, even though it was lost in a different age?
Do you kill the conversation with your in-depth serial killer knowledge, facts about items made out of human skin, or have a strange longing to know the softer side of Mothman?
Have you spent an objectively disproportionate amount of time studying the life of H.H. Holmes?
Oh, I wouldn't know anybody like that. No, certainly not.
Well, I mean, we did call our podcast Disturbing Interests for a reason.
That's right, we've got them, and we are doing you the favor of keeping the questions like, at what temperature does it take to destroy a cadaver out of your browsing history?
Well, we hope.
Because with us, you might be disturbed.
But you're not alone. You can find us on any podcasting platform under Disturbing Interest, or check us out online at disturbinginterest.com.
Hey there, Rainbow Warriors, and welcome to Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBTQ. I'm your host, CJ. This episode is a special collaboration episode with my friends of Creepy Tapas podcast, Ash and Jordan. And with March being Women's Herstory Month, we're bringing you cases of women crime lords. But first, join me on the socials at Beyond the Rainbow, Rainbow Crimes, and Darkcast Network. And please consider becoming a Patreon member. At the $5 unicorn level, you get ad-free episodes, early release episodes. I'll name a unicorn in your honor, and at the end of every month, we take said unicorns out for a ride as I tell you an LGBTQ crime story I've not shared here on the regular show. Plus, if you send me your mailing address, I'll send you some fun little goodies. So what are you waiting for? Do it! I am personally inviting you to the True Crime Festival coming the end of August this year in Austin, Texas. I'm so excited for it, and life would only be more exciting if I knew I could meet some Rainbow Warriors there as well. Use the promo code BEYOND, BEYOND, for 15% off your ticket for this event. And it's not just true crime this year. They're combining paranormal podcasts as well. Ooh, spooky. And if I haven't talked you into this event yet, go check out the event's website to see who all will be there. And get ready to party! Okay, My female crime lord was a very colorful, sinister bitch for sure. In fact, she was so colorful, she had multiple monikers that media sources would call her. Griselda Blanco was known as the Cocaine Godmother, the Black Widow, the Queen of Cocaine, La Madrina, and the Lady of the Mafia. Griselda hailed from the country of Colombia. A little about Colombia. Over the years, this country in South America had worked very hard to clean itself up from the violence and drug cartels that once overtook it. Today, it's a coffee-producing powerhouse. Sounds like my kind of place. It's also the most biodiverse country in the world, and it's a major tourist destination. That's because of the Caribbean coastline, the Andes Mountains, and its rainforest with endangered wildlife. Griselda Blanco Restrepo was born February 15, 1943, in Cartagena, Colombia. She was a Pisces. Her mother raised her alone and moved the two of them to Moravian, Colombia when Griselda was just a young girl. But her mother was very abusive, and she was not a nurturing individual at all. Oftentimes her mother would entertain men at their home, and both the mother and the man would be abusive to Griselda. As a pre-teenager, Griselda turned to sex work and crime as a means to escape her mother and to live on her own. At the age of 11, not only was she doing sex work, she was a successful pickpocket. And Griselda kidnapped a young boy, a boy she thought was from a wealthy family. She held the child until she received ransom for a safe return. The boy was only a year younger than her. And when Griselda never received the ransom money, she shot the boy in the head, killing him. Can you just imagine an 11-year-old child, a little girl, having to sell her body to grown men, and then concocting a scheme to kidnap another child and killing him? At 11 years old, I was still playing hide-and-go-seek with the neighbor kids and watching cartoons. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around this. When Griselda was 13 years old, she married a man who smuggled people into the United States from Colombia. She bore 3 sons with him, but this relationship was not everlasting. The two parted ways, and a couple of years later, Griselda, who was hanging out with a rough crowd, she ordered a hit on her ex. By now, Griselda was in her late 20s, early 30s. She was partaking in drug use, and she got herself involved with the Moravian drug cartel. She would smuggle cocaine into the United States. Their cities of focus were mainly Miami, Los Angeles, and New York. She ended up marrying another man, a fellow drug lord. Griselda, however, was convinced that her husband was stealing millions from their combined drug enterprises, and so she confronted him in a parking lot. She was armed only with a pistol. He was armed with a small Uzi stuffed into his waistband and 6 bodyguards. Griselda did not believe her husband when he denied siphoning money from their business, so she shot him with her pistol. And then she grabbed his Uzi and plowed down his 6 bodyguards. She ended up getting shot as well, but her injury wasn't fatal, and she recovered rather quickly. Griselda would use young women as her drug mules. Many were sex workers in the United States. She'd fashion lingerie for them with a place to hide an envelope of cocaine should they be arrested. By this time, Griselda was worth about $1.5 billion, and she was making $63 million every month. $63 million every month! Holy shit, that's a ton of money. Am I in the wrong business? Of course I am. But as a side, if you've ever seen a picture of this woman, you'd think, damn, CJ, why didn't she spend some of her fortune on herself? She didn't dress luxuriously. She didn't look like she got her hair done at any fancy salon. Fiona from the movie Shrek. Fiona is an ogre. That's kind of who she reminds me of. Except Ogre Fiona dressed nicer. Griselda dressed more like Pugsley from the Addams Family. There's a Lifetime movie about Griselda, and they got the very beautiful Catherine Zeta-Jones to portray her. I think Fiona as an ogre would have been a much better casting for the part. Although at some point of her life, I'm sure Griselda must have cared about her appearance. She seemed to easily score spouses, even if she did kill him. Griselda met and married her third husband, and she had her fourth child. Of course, this marriage didn't work out either. Her third ex-husband took their child and hid out in Colombia. But Griselda found him, and she had him murdered and took their child back. In the mid-1970s, Griselda was making a name for herself in the drug smuggling world. She was living in New York and being compared to Pablo Escobar, only as a drug queenpin, not a kingpin. Her luck was running out, though. It would seem the United States feds were alert to her activities. In 1975, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, also known as the DEA, they commanded an assignment called Operation Banshee. They were set to intercept 150 kilos of cocaine. All of this was what Griselda was trying to smuggle into the United States. After the Fed seized the cocaine, Griselda and 30 of her partners were indicted on federal drug conspiracy charges. And although she was indicted, she had in the meantime fled back to Colombia. Griselda just couldn't keep herself out of the United States, though. Soon she was back and she was living in Miami. By the late 1970s, law enforcement linked her to dozens of murders, including one of a rival drug cartel in a Miami liquor store. However, Griselda, she managed to continue to avoid capture. Rumor had it, Griselda enjoyed sex with the ladies as well. She'd take home female go-go dancers from clubs. She'd have sex with them and then she'd kill them. She also engaged in many bisexual orgies. If there were unwilling participants, she'd make them willing by holding a gun to their head until they were compliant. Griselda was even said to have steady girlfriends at times. While living in Miami, she rarely left her big, luxurious 6-bedroom penthouse apartment. Instead, she hired Colombian and Cuban hitmen to take out her rival forces. But in 1984, Griselda started to receive death threats from drug trafficking rivals, so she decided to leave Miami. She bought a home and moved to Irvine, California. The following year, she was arrested at her new home on drug charges. She was also extradited back to New York, and that's where her federal drug charge trial took place. She lost the trial and was found guilty. She was sentenced to 13 years. Griselda apparently had way too much time on her hands, and she was plotting to have John F. Kennedy Jr. kidnapped. Then she would have the leverage to bargain her release from prison. But someone in her organization, they ratted her out, and that plan was foiled. While serving her time, federal law enforcement agencies, they were also plotting. They were able to scrape together a ton of evidence to nail her on 3 of the many, many murders that she had committed, or had hired someone to commit for her. The indictments were for 3 first-degree murders, although she was a prime suspect in over 200 murders. The trial this time was moved to Miami, Florida. The star witness for the prosecution was one of Griselda's hitmen. This guy happened to be dating a secretary in the prosecutor's office. But as the trial neared closer, the hitman had a change of heart, possibly because he feared for his life, and he backed out of testifying against Griselda. The case was dropped and Griselda was extradited back to Colombia in 2004. In spite of still owning over 20 homes and properties, Griselda took to laying low and not calling attention to herself back in Malaysian, Colombia. She found peace in religion. She became a Christian and she would read her Bible daily. On September 3rd, 2012, A 69-year-old Griselda went with her pregnant daughter-in-law to the butcher shop to purchase some meat for the week. As they were exiting the shop, 2 gunmen on motorcycles pulled up to Griselda. They shot her in the face repeatedly, and then they took off. Griselda died on the sidewalk in front of the butcher shop. Her daughter-in-law was not injured. The killers have never been caught. It's speculated Griselda's murder was an act of revenge, retaliation for someone she wronged badly in the past. With as many as she did dirty, it's surprising that she lived to be 69. So I think that's a very good theory. By the way, 69 is probably the decent number for Griselda, especially if she was as sexually active as all the accounts say she was. Griselda's first 3 sons, who were also involved in their mother's drug cartel operation, they too were murdered. Her 4th son, the baby of the family, he's alive and well and guests on shows about what it's like to be raised in a cartel. Normally, this is the part where I'd say, rest in power, Griselda. But that bitch had too much power when she was alive. So I'll just have to say, be sure to put your 63 million SPF sunscreen on, Griselda, because I hear hell is very hot. With an even more grisly tale of a female crime lord, please take a listen to my friends Ash and Jordan as they present to you Aqua Tofana.
Greetings, ghoul fiends. It's me, Ash.
And I'm Jordan.
Guess what, pal?
What's up?
I, Ash, am not a woman.
Nope.
But I sure love lots of ladies in my life.
Like me. Jordan, I'm a woman.
Yeah, and this month is all about y'all.
What? Women's history?
Women's history, baby. Time to elevate our sisters. So to celebrate, we teamed up with CJ from Beyond the Rainbow to bring you 2 stories of ladies who took their fate into their own hands, building evil empires to escape systems of oppression. Our story comes from a full-length episode you can catch later on this month on Creepy Tapas. It focuses on love potions, but today we're just getting into the story of one very creative, sassy, and murderous woman you may have never heard of.
Probably not. I never had.
Dive in, ghoul fiends. It's about to get heckin' creepy up in here.
Your creepy laugh got gross.
Right?
Just like turned into a bullfrog. What the fuck you doing over there?
Many of us have been there in a relationship with somebody who is just not compatible, but you stay around for whatever reason at the time.
I don't know, because we're dumb. We've all been there. We dumb.
Everyone's done it. We're just stupid. It's all a part of growing up, having that whole history, right?
Yep.
So imagine if you were never permitted to have a choice in a partner and you were bound to one person chosen by your family without any options.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that would be a serious bummer. There was one woman who sympathized very strongly. So much, in fact, she's the most prolific serial killer that you have likely never heard of. Giulia Tofana, a 17th century Italian entrepreneur whose business was beauty and murder.
Ooh, enticing.
Trigger warnings are forecasted to be incredibly light. We are going to talk about some moida.
Yes, just a little bit of murder. No big deal. It was a long time ago.
Very long time ago. Yeah, so long.
It was a long time ago. They would have been dead anyways.
During the Renaissance era, arranged marriages that totally prohibited divorce or separation were very common, regardless of class or social order. Women were less their own people and more like props for the patriarchy. They were used to elevate their family's financial or social station in life.
Trophy wife.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Corpse Bride a little bit.
I've never seen that.
I think I just pooped a little bit. I can't believe.
Well, go change yourself and I'll be right here.
My soul shat.
Oh, sorry.
You need to watch it. We'll watch it together. It'll be fun.
That'll be the movie of the month.
That'll be
We did Corpse Bride.
Corpse Bride. It's a horror story. It's about marriage.
Yeah, it's fine. Fine.
He gets married and then he discovers later that she's actually a corpse. It's a common thing that happens. Many men experience this. The women had no standing in society and very few opportunities to better their situations.
Their situations. Well, some bitch.
It was a common story. Men would exert their power over their property, leaving their poor wives without any autonomy. Men were allowed to inflict whatever sort of cruelty or abuse they liked while evading any legal or social consequences. Yay.
I am so fucking glad that I did not live back then.
Yeah, people that like romanticize that era, no.
I'd have got killed because I'd have smarted off to the wrong man.
TJ always has an interesting point whenever I joke about that. He's always like, in reality, though, y'all wouldn't be y'all because
we wouldn't know any different.
We would have fallen in line. We're not the uppers. We would have been the poors. We wouldn't have even been reading.
I might have been an upper.
Yeah, you think your eyes are far enough apart to have been?
Maybe. Don't worry about it. I'm just saying, you never know. I'm pretty sure my family were poor. Poor, so I was wrong. I was just trying to pretend.
It's kind of a double-edged sword because if your family weren't the poors, then they were slave owners.
Yeah, no. We were the poors.
Yes, we were also the poors. This, of course, left women with limited options. They could marry and hope that their husband treated them decently. They could remain single and rely on sex work to survive, and that's only if they weren't already in an arranged marriage. Or they could become a widow.
Yeah, they could.
Yes. I mean, it starts to kind of sound like
I guess if it comes with money, it's not a bad deal.
And even if it doesn't, like usually the men had some, like if you belong to a family, that typically was enough to at least keep you in some sort of inner fold where you wouldn't be on your own. Because being on your own was the worst.
Yeah, I will.
Because you would die. Like nobody could do it.
You would die.
You couldn't do it. You couldn't like be single and like survive and be like a single woman back then. Like there was no strong, independent, like there were a couple here and there that were running brothels, but none of it was coming from like an honest day's work as an entrepreneur or,
So did you know in this era, one of those said women that were running the brothels is actually the lady who invented fake eyelashes. She invented them to keep cum out of the prostitutes' eyes, and they were called cumbrellas. And I think fake eyelashes are the funniest fucking thing.
Under my cumbrella.
Right? Let me bat my cumbrellas at you.
Sexy. It's always sexy to know that
I've never wore fake eyelashes, but I don't know. I just think they're hilarious now that I know that.
I've worn them before, and I can see it. It makes sense. Well, you can imagine with such limited options, being an aspiring widow was not too unusual. The wealthier class preferred to be widows, left alone in their performative grief rather than be stuck in a terrible and violent marriage. I mean,
I don't blame them. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, dude. I mean, their desire was freedom, and the only solution looked like moida. The method?
Poison.
Obviously. It's the lady's weapon.
Damn right. Do that shit silently.
Julia Tofano was a conduit connecting these wannabe widows with exactly what they needed. For nearly 50 years. She had a soft spot for women trapped in loveless, suffocating, and abusive marriages, and she really wanted to help them out. Yay, women business owners. Ladies helping ladies.
We got you back, ladies.
Girl boss.
Right? Are you unhappy? I've got this potion. It will make all your dreams come true.
Julia was born in 1620 in Palermo. She's the daughter of the infamous Tofana di Amato, who was executed for murdering Julia's father in 1633.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like mother, like daughter.
Yes. Although Julia's recipe origins are unconfirmed, it is rumored that the recipe was passed down from her mother. However, even if that wasn't the case, Julia was skilled in her craft, and she brewed all sorts of tinctures. A young and beautiful woman, Julia spent many hours in the local apothecaries. I love that fucking word. God, I love that word.
I like how you always say it like that too. You can just say apothecary.
Because no, it's
Apothecary.
apothecary. You know, I never asked
Every
TJ what
time.
he wants to watch on the TV. I'm like, what's the programming for this evening?
The programming.
The programming. Do you want to find a program? I don't know. Just feels fancy. Julia grew up hanging out, watching potions and tinctures being made. Some say if her recipe wasn't passed down from her mom, she may have discovered it herself in the presence of these professionals. However, Julia was far from the first or only woman in the matricidal poison trade. She was the most productive, though. Julia would eventually move from Sicily to Naples to Rome. She expanded her black market trade all along the way.
She knew how to market herself.
Oh my God, she was on it. And she was all black market, so that probably felt sexy to be like, I need to find some aqua tofana. I feel sexy and I'm not even looking to buy it.
Right.
With the help of her daughter, along with the group of trusted associates and possibly a priest, Julia launched an underground ring of criminals from her apothecary shop. To the layperson, cosmetics was her trade. Julia sold powders and liquids used to enhance a woman's beauty. This, of course, was a front to hide her most coveted product, aqua tofana.
Nice. So they were like a little mob.
Yeah. Oh,
with a
yeah.
fucking laundering business and all kinds of shit. Underground
yeah.
rings and organization. They had this shit on lock.
They did.
Okay. Get it, girl.
I mean, she had it going on, man. She was like, I'm not owning a fucking brothel. I'm gonna
I'll help you poison your husband.
I'm in cosmetics.
Oh, yeah, not that. Not what I said.
Wink, wink.
I'm a beauty consultant.
I mean, I guess sometimes getting rid of an abusive husband like that probably does help with anti-aging because you stress out
Or
less.
you don't have bruises anymore.
Right?
That makes you prettier.
Absolutely. Aqua tofana fixes all kinds of issues.
That's right.
A coveted face cream or oil helped preserve youth or helped you live the life of your dreams, wearing all black and grieving your wealthy husband who sucked. Aqua tofana could kill a grown man with as little as 4 drops metered out over the course of days or even weeks to avoid suspicion. This would give the wives time to get affairs in order as their husband would become progressively sicker until finally they would die. The poison left no trace. So you would be able to be like, okay, you need to go over like the Wi-Fi password with me. And
they didn't have Wi-Fi.
We need to talk about the bank accounts.
Right? Let me know where all the money's hidden.
Like, what do you need to get out? Your last will and testament, because like, looks like you're dying. Looks like they can't fix you. Like they would have time to get it all sorted out. And the doctors would have no idea because it was totally undetectable. It was tasteless, colorless, and odorless. So it was the perfect companion to any beverage or food.
That's wild.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
How the fuck did they get caught?
We'll get
it's
there.
Not traceable.
The exact recipe was closely guarded by Julia. She knew enough to know that you never told anyone your trade secrets. Future analyzation of the bottles showed up as part of the recipe, and trace amounts included arsenic, lead, and belladonna, all known as toxins that can cause death easily. The true genius here was the hidden in plain sight packaging. The poison would be hidden in cosmetic products, so it could be kept on the ladies' vanity tables without rousing any concern from their husbands. It was concealed in a powder compact in some households, while it later was sold in a bottle labeled as Manna of St. Nicholas of Bari, a popular blemish ointment, which also looked a bit like a devotional object as well. So who on earth would object? Husbands were blissfully unaware that their wives' beauty regimen would be their undoing. I powder my face and I powder your French fries.
We got you son of a bitch.
Die, die, die. The first dose, normally diluted with some kind of liquid, would cause exhaustion and physical weakness. The second dose would bring on stomach aches, vomiting, and dysentery. The third or fourth dose would take care of everything else, killing them.
Shut your shit down.
Yes.
Bitch, you done.
That's it. Time to go to sleep. Go to sleep. That's what they did. That's not nice. Like, just get a divorce. Well, I guess they couldn't. So,
No, couldn't do that.
There's that. The poison and the method of administering it meant the doctors and investigators believed the death had been caused by some unknown illness or disease. So,
well, that crazy asshole done got into some germs somewhere. I don't fucking know. Probably a vampire. I mean,
they were just like, how did he
who
die?
fuck knows? I don't know. He got sick.
I think it's cool though that they can still analyze the vials and like find out now how things likely happened. Like I think that's neat that they can kind of patch that together. She was careful to only sell products to ladies that she knew or women who had been vetted by past clients. Julia was beloved by the people, especially the women, both powerful and poor, who she helped equally. The odd but not totally surprising thing about her was for as popular and well-known in certain circles as her poisons were, she evaded any public images of her face. She never once sat for a portrait, so none exist. She flew totally under the radar, which I'm sure suited her business just fine. Julia left no trace of herself anywhere. This confounded many and would result in her very existence being argued, as though she was the spirit who never walked the earth in flesh. I think she was real because there's, evidence of her poisons.
Right.
Yeah. I think she was just really smart and like really good. She knew she had to be like the knight.
Yeah. And that's fucking awesome and mysterious and good.
Right?
Good for her.
I mean, yeah.
She evaded your ass too, so fuck off.
All things come to an end, and after a superb run of widow making, her highly profitable endeavor came to an end. In the 1650s, a client got cold feet after cooking a warm soup for her husband. The client had gone so far as to prepare the inaugural dose to her ill-fated hubby when she suddenly had a change of heart. A wave of remorse rushed over her, and she begged her husband not to eat the soup, which naturally caused him to wonder what the hell was going on. I'm going to assume he was probably, also aggressive.
Bitch, what'd you put in my soup?
Yeah, like she wanted to off him, so he was probably really scary about it. Anyway, he was able to drag the truth out of her, and she confessed to her poison plot. This angered him, and he notified the papal authorities, who would get the whole confession from her. And she sold Julia out, exposing her totally.
Well, that bitch. Why the hell would she even tell him? Be like, I just realized the vegetables were rotten, or, make up some bullshit. You ain't gotta tell him that you put poison in it.
Oh, maybe he was really scary,
Which is more reason to lie.
Some people didn't know that snitches get stitches yet.
And then get put in ditches.
That's right. That is the end of that quote. Julia got word of her warrant before the authorities arrived and fled. She ran to a church and begged for sanctuary, which was granted. Unfounded rumors would soon begin flying that as an act of defiance, she had poisoned the water supply of the city. So the police had the right to raid the church, and they apprehended Julia. The papal authorities, which, if you're not aware, means the authority of the Pope, who define and enforce the law of the land. These righteous religious meatbags would torture Julia horrifically and at length before she finally broke, confessing, albeit under duress, to the killing of over 600 men from 1633 to 1651, just in Rome. Now, remember, she was traveling like
all over the place.
Yeah, she was always on the road, So that's a lot. Now, she traveled all over the place prior to 1633, but I consider her testimony unreliable because, when you're being tortured and I'm assuming deprived of your basic human needs,
you'll just kind of say whatever they want you to say.
Yeah, dude, your survival instinct kicks in and you're just going to be like, yeah, I don't know. Here's a confession.
I doubt she actually knew how many people.
I mean, just keeping track of how much poison you sold. Like, Jesus, fuck, man. Like, you got a ledger? I guess maybe she might have wrote it down.
If she was living off the grid, she damn sure wasn't keeping track to pay taxes. Well, I sold, 75 vials of poison last month.
So who really knows, right? She would name a few of her clients during her confession, which would not end well for those ladies. Julia was executed in Campo di Fiori in Rome in 1659, along with her daughter, who had also taken up the family business, and a few of her most reliable associates. So her and everybody who lived in her house got to pay for it.
She had a good run.
She did. Dozens of lower-class women were executed after it was revealed that they had been customers, while many of the upper-class ladies were imprisoned or banished for their involvement. What's remarkable about Julia Tofana's legacy is how it's become this sort of folklore that continues to pop up through history.
What if these ladies were just in there buying cosmetics for real? Like, what if they never bought... Oh, well, I guess their husbands would have died, though, huh?
Well, it was like I said, her customers were highly vetted. They were usually recommended from somebody else. Like it was a secret.
Oh, yeah. She didn't just like have a makeup shop.
Right.
Come to my makeup shop.
She was
Buy
also
some
really
poison.
good at making tinctures and cosmetics. Her poisons and proof of power directly influenced the affair of the poisons in 17th century France, leading to the rise of La Voisin and the attempted murder of King Louis XIV. In 1791, Mozart was working on his Requiem when he became gravely ill. From his deathbed, he proclaimed, "I am sure that I have been poisoned. I cannot rid myself of this idea. Someone has given me the aqua tofana and calculated the precise time of my death." Well, this was likely not the case. The fact that her recipe was still being talked about far and wide 100 years after Julia Tofana's death shows you how popular her poison was. Kind of reminds me of South Park a little bit.
How?
There you die, Aqua Tofana lives on. La Resistance. It's odd though, to root for her just a little. I mean, we're talking about a murderer. Like, I don't want to be like, yeah, killing people, but I feel like it's akin to men in their wars. Like, this was a little like domestic war that women had to wage for a minute.
Yeah, I'm definitely not hating on her for helping these women get out of violent situations.
Yeah, and she wasn't selling it to like random people.
Yeah, I mean,
You
it's not
know.
like she was just out there selling it to the masses.
I like to think, and I didn't read this, but I'm going to make it up for myself. I like to think that she heard people's stories and she was like, she decided one of those things where you contact, like my tattoo artist, you contact me and I'll tell you if I feel like working with you or not.
I'll see if we vibe. If we don't vibe, I ain't doing it.
Yeah, if I don't, yeah, I'm wasting my time with that. But I like to think she was really discriminate, and these were men who were just really awful pieces of poo poo caca pee pee to their wives, and it was a really good thing that they were gone.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine her poisons had a purpose.
Yeah.
They were freeing freedom.
Freedom. I mean, I'm not endorsing. Listen, man, you should get a divorce if you want to get away nowadays. Get a divorce.
Now they couldn't.
Yeah.
They were trapped.
Nowadays, definitely just get a divorce. I've done it twice. It's I think that's a level where it's a hobby if you do it twice in 10 years.
There you go.
I can't imagine what these poor women were going through, feeling like prisoners in a gilded cage. And, they were basically just domestic servants. They didn't even get to learn what they wanted or do what they wanted. It just had to really suck.
Yeah, I'm sure it was terrible. Again, super glad that I was not alive back then.
Yeah. And I think that I like to believe that if divorce was possible, they would have maybe explored that option instead of killing their husbands.
Maybe not.
It makes me wonder because, the statistic is that like women outlive their husbands. And now I'm like kind of wondering, is it because all of the like really rough men got murdered in the Renaissance era?
These bitches just be poisoning everybody.
All over the damn place. So like
just spewing poison everywhere. What's wrong with you?
So the lifespan of men just kind of evolved down.
There we go. We did it, ladies.
Sorry. Thanks for listening, y'all.
Thanks, y'all.
You can give us a like, rate, review anywhere you listen to podcasts at Creepy Tapas. You can also find us all over social media at Creepy Tapas. We would love to hear from you. Send us a DM on any social media or an email, creepytapas@gmail.com anytime. Thanks again for creeping around with us today and stay spooky.
Appreciate y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, woof. Those were some pretty evil ladies we covered for Women's Herstory Month. Thanks, Ash and Jordan, for collaborating with me. Be sure to check out their show, Creepy Tapas, for a little tiny taste of terror. Love ya, warriors. You matter. And remember, it's not a crime to be gay. Unless you're a murderer.